Hello and welcome back to 10 for 10. Brian, we've been off for a couple weeks here.
It's been a little bit.
We're back.
Been a while.
10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. I am sports director Griffin Haas, here with sports anchor and reporter Brian Rudman. Good holiday break, Brian.
I did. I had a great holiday break. Did you?
Feeling refreshed, ready to go?
Ready to go.
Great
New
break.
year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, but we're here for the sports. We're here for the sports, and we've missed a lot over the last couple weeks. We are already into the NFL play. We're about to start the NFL playoffs.
Playoff football, baby.
So we're going to get to all four teams, but we're going to start with the teams that are actually still playing football.
Yeah. Probably a good idea.
And then we'll get to your Jets.
Yes. Absolutely.
We start
it's
with
what everyone's here for.
We start with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills finishing the year 12-5, making the playoffs for, I believe, the 7th straight year. But for the first time in a number of years, I believe it's 5, they're going to be a wild card, so they have to go on the road to start the playoffs. Obviously, they've played road playoff games with Josh Allen, Sean McDermott in the later rounds, but this is their first time in a little bit starting on the road, and they start in Jacksonville against a team that is red hot. The Jacksonville Jaguars finished 13-4. I believe it was 7 or 8 wins in a row to end the year. And for me, these playoffs in general are the most wide open NFL playoffs we've had, I think, in some time. You don't have a Mahomes Chiefs team. Joe Burrow and the Bengals didn't make it. There are a lot of teams. There's no juggernaut that's looming. Right. There are a lot of very good teams, and you could really lose. You can beat anyone, and you can really lose to anyone, except for maybe the Panthers, but that's another conference. So the Jaguars, they're a very good team. They're not to be taken lightly, but at the same time, if you're the Bills, you can hang your hat on that you have the best quarterback in the playoffs, or at least if it's not, there's no quarterback better than Josh Allen in these playoffs, and that starts right here in the first round. Yeah,
I think for the Bills, this is an interesting playoff for the Bills because it's, like you said, the bracket's wide open. You don't have to go through Mahomes. You don't have to deal with, the Ravens or the Bengals. The AFC North representative is the Steelers, who are a good football team but have kind of just stumbled their way into the playoffs at this point. It's the most wide open. It's the best opportunity the Bills have had in terms of the teams they're going to have to face, but it's also the toughest road they're going to have to go through because this probably isn't the strongest Bills team we've seen, and they're going to have to go on the road. They're most likely going to have to win 3 playoff football games in order to reach the Super Bowl. And I'll just put this out there. Out of any of the teams they could have faced in the wild card round, the Jaguars are probably the last team on that list I would want to face.
Yeah, I would agree with the sentiment that I would agree with your overall point as far as being tough. I don't think it's the hardest road just because there is no juggernaut to go through. They can win any of these games. There's no Chiefs looming out there. So even though they have to go on the road more times, sure, maybe it's a harder start, maybe a longer road, but I don't think it's their hardest road. I do think, though, to your point, this has not been the best Bills team that they've been the last couple of years. It would be very kind of poetic in a way for the year for that they take a kind of a step back and they don't win the division to all of a sudden be the year where they get hot in the playoffs and go on a huge run. Because again, a lot of these teams also don't have playoff experience. The Jaguars,
this is true,
have, I think it was 2022. There was that Trevor
they had
Lawrence,
that crazy game against
Justin
the
Herbert
Chargers
game where Lawrence threw a bunch of picks in the first half, but they came back and won. But a lot of the players are different. Right. The coach is different with Liam Cohen, who's been, great for them this year.
Fantastic.
So it's difficult because I think the Bills have questions on defense. I think the Bills have questions as far as when they get into big spots, who is the go-to guy. I think we've talked about that a lot. But at the same time, you certainly can't rule them out. In this game, it says a lot. They're going to Jacksonville, who, like we said, a very hot team, 13-4. They've been proven throughout the stretch. The Bills are favored by 1.5 points.
Right.
Now, a lot of that might be, sometimes when you're looking at those kind of lines, like brand recognition, that
you're
the
banking
Jaguars
on
are a team
Josh Allen.
The Jaguars are a team that people are not used to betting in the playoffs. So the Bills, Josh Allen. It could be a piece of that, or it could be Vegas and saying that no, this is a team that we believe in because they do have Josh Allen. It's going to be very interesting. Again, it's going to be game to game. I think that they can beat anybody in the playoffs, and I think they can lose to just about anybody in the playoffs. Like I even think, that Steelers game they had in Pittsburgh was ugly. And they,
they dominated after the break.
They dominated after the break, but it was also Rodgers got hurt. It was the fumble that kind of he gets hurt and fumbles on one play. Like
the game kind of flipped on its head.
The Bills have been very weird where they've just not clicked on all cylinders at once. And listen, the playoffs is all about who's doing it at the right time.
Right.
So you can see that now, and it would be the perfect time. I would not be shocked if they win convincingly on Sunday. I would not be shocked if they lose on Sunday.
Yeah.
It is as wide open a game as you can have. I would say, you mentioned they're the team that you'd probably want to play the least. I might agree with that. The Patriots, I think, are a very good team, and obviously we'll get to them in a second. There is also divisional, familiarity, so that could kind of complicate things. It could be a good or a bad thing. But the Jaguars are not going to be a walk in the park. I have no feel on this game as far there are other games I look at and I feel pretty I don't have a lot of confidence of what is going to happen in this game.
No, neither do I. I think for the Bills in particular, it's tough because you look at how they closed the year. Pittsburgh, they played a really ugly first half, and then they kind of turned things on its head, and Rodgers was hurt. Cincinnati, they relied on their defense to make two huge plays, probably the two biggest plays that defense has made all year, and that gave them the win. They had a horrible first half against New England, came back to win. Cleveland was a good game. Didn't play all that well against Philadelphia, lost on the 2-point conversion. You can throw out last week when the backups were playing against the Jets. I really just don't have a read on what this Bills team is. I think it just depends on who shows up. At the end of the day, I think it's going to depend on the situation. Josh Allen's going to be the best player on the field. And, can they stay ahead? I think getting a lead is going to be big for the Bills because if you can rely on the ground game and you can play with a lead, you're in a much better spot than relying on the offense to move the ball through the air when you don't really have a go-to receiver.
Yeah, and they just have been so up and down, kind of like what you were mentioning. It's like when they almost lost that game to the Bengals and then in dramatic fashion, and then it's like, oh, maybe they're not that good. Then they beat the Patriots, but they were down huge in that game.
They played a horrible first half.
And then Josh Allen is Superman and he wins them the game.
Right.
And then they play the Browns and that game was not convincing. And like you mentioned, they lose to the Eagles. They have not looked good over the last 2 weeks that they've actually played because, yes, one, the backups played last week, and two, they played the Jets.
It's the Jets.
So we'll get to them later, but they're the Jets. Shout out Aaron Glenn. But
please do not shout
out Aaron Glenn. They've just been so up and down.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. I kind of feel like if I had to pick, I would just go with Josh Allen and have Trevor Lawrence has been good this year. Trevor Lawrence has not proven it enough in these big spots. I think with Cohen he's been fantastic.
He's been phenomenal. Yeah.
But that would be where I lean, but my confidence on that pick would be very, very low.
Yeah, I think, it's like I said, I think the Bills need to play from the lead. If they're going to make a run at the playoffs, it can't be. You don't want to have to rely on Josh Allen to be Superman. At some point, in order to make a Super Bowl, he's going to have to be Superman, but you don't want to have to rely on him consistently.
And there might be one game where that happens. Like, this could be the game, but then that can't be a trend.
Like I said, at some point, he's going to have to do it. Every quarterback does on your way to a Super Bowl. The quarterback's going to have to
Unless you have a lights-out defense,
right,
which the
Bills do not have.
Which they do not have.
Right. So, Josh Allen at some point is going to need to be Superman. But how many times can you ask him to be Superman and get away with it? And I think for the Bills, if they're going to make a run, if they're going to get through this game, at some point, this team's going to have to play a full 60 minutes.
It just is one of those years where you look at it and you're like, the number one seeds are the Seahawks and the Broncos.
Right.
Like, do you have any
And the Jaguars went into Denver and beat the Broncos 2 weeks ago.
And the Broncos and the Seahawks, to their advantage, have very strong home field advantages.
They do.
So that's not to be overlooked. But in terms of the teams, they're not two teams that you go into the year thinking would be number one seeds. I don't think they're number one seeds that necessarily instill a lot of fear into other teams. We'll see. This game is one of the more interesting ones on the slate to me because I think you're going to learn a lot about the Jaguars, or you're going to learn a lot about the Bills. You're going to learn a lot about both teams. For the Jaguars, even if they lose, I think that they would mark this as You have your
Very
quarterback,
successful
you have your
season,
coach,
yeah.
like successful season. But obviously, in the NFL, things can change fast. You want to take advantage of opportunities.
Right.
For the Bills, this becomes interesting if they lose, and we'll talk more about coaches, so I don't want to get too far down this road right now. But obviously, McDermott's name has, for a couple years, gotten thrown out there, but it's never been real as far as
Right.
they kind of just always come up a little short. Is it time to move on? And it's never really felt real. Could this be the year where they don't win the division if they go out with the first round exit? And there's a coach who just left Baltimore named John Harbaugh, who's sitting out there. There has been rumors that there's a team in the playoffs that is interested in John Harbaugh, given what happens to their team in the playoffs. Could that be the Bills? They're one of the teams that would make the most sense if you're looking at what that looks like. So I think that there's a lot. This game could mean more for like the future of the franchise and where the Bills are headed than any game in a long time, because I think if they lose, it could be in a reevaluation of everything.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think when you look at this season, especially if they lose on Sunday, maybe even if they lose in the divisional round, you go, all right, we didn't win in a year Mahomes and the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. We didn't win the division. We didn't make a run at the Super Bowl. At what point are we wasting Josh Allen's prime and this golden opportunity? They're not going to get another Josh Allen for, it was what, 30 years from Jim Kelly to Josh Allen? Like, this is their chance. This is the window. While Josh Allen is playing in his prime, this is the window. And at what point do you look at maybe Sean McDermott's not the guy to push them over the top? I'm not saying he's not right now, but if they lose on Sunday and you have a letdown of a season and they haven't gone to a Super Bowl, they haven't gotten it done, you at least got to ask the question.
I'll also just end with this, and then we'll move on to the Patriots. McDermott's name is the one that gets thrown out there, and I think that this person I'm about to talk about has done some very good things in building this team, but it's the same thing as far as reevaluating. I mean, Brandon Beane's refusal to add a wide receiver or inability to add a wide receiver and ignoring, and it's hard when you pay your quarterback because there are things that you're going to have to sacrifice. It's not an easy thing. But, I tried to get a wide receiver, but we're going to pull Brandon Cooks out of the trash heap. Those kind of moves. There have been glaring holes that I think fans and, media members have pointed to that have not been addressed, that have hurt the team continuously. And if that happens in the playoffs as well, I don't know if that will happen, but I think that that's something that should at least get mentioned and not just all get thrown on Sean McDermott, who has won a lot of football games.
He has won a lot of games
for the Buffalo Bills.
True.
Let's move on to the Patriots. We've kind of set the scene in terms of the conference, and a lot of the same things apply, that this is wide open for the Patriots. They could have been the number one seed. They're not. They're 14-3. I mean, if you thought they were 14-3 and not getting the one seed is a little tough, but I mean, if you told a Patriot fan, first year Mike Vrabel, second year Drake May, you're going to be 14-3. I mean, that is just already a very successful season. But when you have that kind of season, you want to turn that into playoff success no matter what. They play the Chargers. An interesting game. The Chargers are the highest seed in the playoffs. They're the 7 seed, or in the AFC side of the playoffs, obviously. 7 seed. And they're 11-6. Vrabel was talking about the Chargers, and it is a team that could be built for the playoffs. They have a good defense.
Right.
Harbaugh is a great coach.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about Harbaugh. I'm a big Harbaugh guy, both of them. So he's a great coach. They can run the ball. Obviously Justin Herbert. This is kind of where is Justin Herbert has I think I've long said that I think Justin Herbert's overrated. And it's because he has not come through in moments like this. This is another opportunity for him to do so.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for the Chargers in watching them is the health of their offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know. Check on the status of Joe Alt, because that has kind of,
changes the game.
It completely changes that when they have a healthy offensive line and they can run the ball and they can protect Herbert.
Right.
They are a completely different team. When they don't have Alt and he's on the IR, so he will not be playing. No. I thought that he was out, but I wanted to make sure before I said that. That I think is a huge
bonus
difference maker for the Patriots, because they are a completely different team. Herbert has been getting
Right.
hit a lot. He's a little beat up.
Yeah.
He's been kind of doing some Superman-esque things to try to get this team to this point.
Yeah.
So I think that is a huge advantage for the Patriots and why I would lean Patriots I feel pretty good about the Patriots walking out with a win, although, again, it's as wide open as it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said this, anyone can beat anyone in this playoff on both sides of the bracket, NFC and
Except for
AFC.
the Panthers.
Except for the Panthers.
I will continue to mention except for the Panthers. They're 8-9. They stink. I guarantee the Panthers do not win. That is a Griffin Haas guarantee.
That's a guarantee.
That the Panthers do not win a playoff game.
Who do they
And I
get?
will
They
probably
get
be
the
playing-
Rams, right?
Yes, they're 10.5-point underdogs. I guarantee they lose. I will probably be playing this again next week on for 10 for 10.
They did beat the Rams during the
I
regular
do
season
not,
at
yes,
home, right?
and they're still favored by 10.5
Yeah,
points.
that's crazy.
That is like as green of a green light if they're going to get dominated. Dominated. But anyway, back to the Patriots.
Back to the New England Patriots. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Jacksonville being the team I don't want to play, I think if you had to pick an opponent, I guess in the AFC, it would outside of the Steelers, it would probably be.
Yeah, you can't
the
pick them because
Chargers.
they're the division
They're
winner.
the division
Probably
winner.
would be
Out of the
Steelers,
wild
but
cards, I think it would be the Chargers just because
for
Texans
sure.
are so good. The Bills
Texans
have Josh
defense is
Allen.
great,
I think for the Chargers, having a beat-up O-line, it takes away a lot of what Harbaugh and this offense wants to do running the football.
Yeah.
It means that Justin Herbert in prime time in the cold in New England is going to have to make some plays. I think the big thing for the Patriots is this is going to be the first playoff experience for a lot of their guys. This is a young team, right? Drake May, this is his first trip to the playoffs. I think it's going to be how does he handle the pressure? I think he'll do fine, but I think that is always a question when a guy goes into when particularly a quarterback and a star quarterback who you've relied on for most of the year. That's usually a question when you go into his first playoff run is how is he going to handle the pressure?
Yeah, I agree with that. There are a lot of young guys. They do have a nice mix of veterans. Stephon Diggs he obviously has a lot. There are also distractions we should mention.
Right, yes.
There have been multiple Patriots in legal troubles, and Stephon Diggs is one of them, and they've stood by Stephon Diggs. So are those things distractions? On the field, he's been good for the Patriots.
Right.
Off the field, that's a different story. I have confidence. I think Vrabel is a very steadying force for them, who has had a lot of experience as a player and then as a coach as well. I think that kind of minimizes it a little bit, but you don't know what it's like until you get into the game. It is also Sunday night.
Right.
I think it's not the Sunday one. The Bills we should have mentioned too. Sunday 1:00. This is the prime time night game.
It's 8 o'clock. This is the one that NBC circled.
This is the one. So that plays into it. I think that the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to want to make this a slugfest, and because they know they're not going to. I think it's going to be tough for them to score a lot because of the troubles they have on their offensive line. Omarion Hampton, their rookie running back, is also questionable. He'll probably play, but he's been dealing with an ankle basically all season.
Yeah.
So, but at the flip side, I think the Patriots also they've unlocked Trevion Henderson and Stevenson has been running the ball really well.
They got a nice two-headed attack. In the backfield
they've
right
looked.
now.
I think they've kind of looked their best at the end of the season, partly because they played the Jets and Dolphins. Shout out. But they've kind of come into form. It's another one that's a toss. Patriots favored by 3.5. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I would lean Patriots to win this game.
Yeah.
But nothing. There is only one result that would surprise me in the playoffs, and that is the Panthers competing. We're gonna come back. We're gonna take a quick break. Come back and talk about the teams that are not in the playoffs. All right, welcome back to the teams that are not in the playoffs, and we will start with the New York Giants because there's a little bit more.
There's stuff actually happening.
Yeah, more to talk about than with the New York Jets. The New York Giants fired Brian Daboll a long time ago.
Yep.
Now they're going to ramp up that search. I think let's start also just by mentioning they had already said they were going to stand by Joe Shane and that Joe Shane was not going to get fired despite 4 years of
Not good
22,
football.
44-1 record,
Yeah.
and what he called, over the first couple, they allowed me to stub my toe. That's a pretty bad stubbing
How many
of the
times
toe.
has he stubbed his toe?
That is a pretty bad toe stubbing, because they've just been complete garbage on the field.
Yeah.
During his tenure. On the flip side, they have found really good pieces. Jackson Dart is a quarterback that makes this job very attractive.
Yep.
Should note that Brian Dable was the one who wanted Jackson Dart. Neither here nor there. They have Malik Neighbors. They have some guys on the defensive side of the ball. They have Scadaboo, like guys who are hurt that are going to come back.
Yeah.
And now they have the 5th pick in the draft. Of course, the Giants are amazing at winning games when it will hurt them.
Yep.
When they need to win games during the season, they're terrible at it. And then when it's like, hey, if you win this game, you're going to mess up your draft stock, they're like, get ready to win.
Week
Let's do it.
16, 17, and
Beat
18.
the Raiders, beat the
Nobody
Cowboys.
better than the New
Could
York
have had
Giants.
the first pick, have the 5th pick. Again, you got to try to win games, but it is funny. So now their number one priority, other than they have the 5th pick, they're going to rebuild the roster. The number one priority is finding their coach. I think the number one guy originally for them seemingly was Kevin Stefanski. He interviewed on Wednesday.
Yep.
Then John Harbaugh got fired. And
Changes things.
John Harbaugh, if you're an NFL team who needs a head coach, and maybe even one that has a head coach that they don't love, I think John Harbaugh is an absolute home run.
Yeah.
I understand the Ravens moving on. He'd been there for 18 years. I wouldn't have done it. I think it's stupid. I think John Harbaugh is one of those guys you just keep, and kind of like Tomlin, where it's a lot of teams would want to be where they are year in and year out with a chance to make the playoffs, chance to win. The Giants are going to go all in on John Harbaugh.
Yeah, you
I
have
imagine.
to.
It seems like they're trying to line up an interview with him next week. He has now become the belle of the ball. My Miami Dolphins have fired Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to make this Miami Dolphins show because I've been talking to anyone who will listen at News 10 about, even before Mike McDaniel got fired, that John Harbaugh would be a possibility in Miami. And it seems
The
like
first thing he said to me this week when I walked in the door.
McDaniel had not been fired yet. When he got fired, I was like, the Dolphins could make a move, and they did. They fired Mike McDaniel, opening that position up.
Right.
Stephen Ross can pay him the most money. He has no problem doing that. He has ties to the family because he's friends with John Harbaugh through Michigan. They have a GM opening, which the Giants obviously do not. Mm-hmm. They have a GM opening. The Chargers' assistant GM, Chris Alexander, he was a GM for a decade in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. He coincidentally got added to the Dolphins interview list 2 hours before John Harbaugh got fired, when they had already released all of the other interviews. Little strange. He's now made it to the finalists. They're interviewing them tomorrow, a Saturday. So they could hire a GM by Saturday. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All I'm saying is that the Dolphins are, not just because I'm a fan of the Dolphins, a contender for John Harbaugh. I think it's going to come down to the Dolphins, the Giants, maybe the Falcons. Don't really see that happen.
Yeah.
So that's what the Giants are facing. I don't think it's Harbaugh or bust, but Harbaugh is the clear contender for this job.
It's Harbaugh is up here. Make sure my hand's in the camera. Harbaugh's up here.
Yeah, at the top of the screen.
Harbaugh's up here.
You're
Everyone
good.
else, there are some good options down here.
Yeah.
Kevin Stefanski would still be a good hire.
Yes.
But Harbaugh, winning coach. He's been to the playoffs year in, year out. He knows how to...
Super Bowl champion.
He knows how to build a franchise. I mean, let's be honest. He was a missed field goal away from going to the playoffs this year. He was a dropped, a 2-point conversion last year against the Bills. He was a dropped 2-point conversion from going to the AFC Championship game last year. Like, this is a guy who not only has won a lot of games, he's consistently putting his team in positions to be successful in multiple eras, too. He went through Joe Flacco and the strong Ravens defense, and then found a way
immediately into Lamar Jackson.
And found a way to make that team good as well consistently. And that's impressive too. Is not only when you can do it with one group of good talent, but when that talent retires and that talent leaves, when you can build it up, that just proves how good of a coach.
Well, and then
you
on
are.
the defensive side of the ball, and they not only Flacco to Lamar, but then they lost Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, those guys were on the back end. Now they've got guys like Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith. Like they completely reshaped that defense and kept that Baltimore identity. I think that he is a guy. There are very few people that can step into the building and just instantly, I think, just completely change the culture. Yeah. And I think that is what the Giants need. I think the Giants have a lot to offer. I obviously want him to pick Miami. I think there are reasons for that. The Giants have the better quarterback. No doubt about that. The Dolphins don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Giants are a storied franchise, although they have been more in the Jets category recently. Let's be honest, they have been that bad.
They've been bad. The Jets and Giants have been arguably the Jets, Giants, and Browns. Yeah, those are the three worst teams in recent years, and you can flip-flop the order.
Take that out, but they have great ownership. They're respected ownership, stable ownership. I think what could be interesting with the Giants' job for Harbaugh is I imagine that Harbaugh is going to want to be able to have say over personnel, or at least who's picking the personnel, and have that be collaborative. Will he want to work for Joe Schoen?
Right.
I don't think so, or I don't know. Will the Giants, if John Harbaugh walks in the building and says, I want to be here, but I don't want him here. Will they fire him? That's what the Jaguars did it for Liam Cohen. They interviewed him with Balky there last year. They interviewed him. Cohen said, refused the job because he said he didn't want to work for that GM. And he walked out of the building, and a day or two later, they fired the GM. They brought Cohen back, and he was the head coach.
Yeah.
Would Harbaugh want to do something like that, and would the Giants do it? I think that they should. I think that they probably should have moved on from Joe Schoen anyway.
Probably.
But that's regardless of the point, because with the Dolphins, that opportunity is there already. They could, if he wants, the guy from the Chargers, I'm very confident that they
probably
going to
happen.
Right. Now, that is all in on the Harbaugh stuff. I think that it's so obvious that that's almost as much as you have to say about it.
Yeah.
There are some other. I think if you took Harbaugh out of it, I think that Stefanski would be a great fit.
Before Harbaugh got fired, when it was Monday morning, when it was Kevin Stefanski's gone, it's a good choice for the Giants.
Yeah.
I think everyone is kind of acknowledging the Giants kind of want a guy with experience who's not going to be learning on the job. You have a young quarterback and a young team where you have pieces where you can turn it around quick. You don't want someone who's learning as he goes. I think it's clear that they want someone with experience. Kevin Stefanski would be that guy who, the Browns have been one of the worst franchises overall, but Stefanski still found a way to get into the playoffs with 40-year-old Joe Flacco.
And that's the thing that I just people on the. I get the Browns they need to move on too, because that's run its course, and they were not good last year, 5-12. They were not good either. You can't hold the Browns against Kevin Stefanski. There are some organizations that are just awful.
Yep. We'll talk about one of them in a moment.
I didn't say it. I was thinking it. It's an ownership problem. It is an organizational problem. It is everything.
Yeah.
He walked in that building and won 11 games off the rip and brought them to the playoffs. Obviously, the Baker thing kind of fell apart. Some people think he's partly to blame for that. The Deshaun Watson mess. There was once that went sideways, there's no coming back. Partly their fault for whoever made that. It's completely their fault. Whoever made that decision. I don't know how much Stefanski had involvement in that.
Right.
You're never going to succeed there. That's the reason the Browns are the Browns. They do stuff like that. They trade all those picks for Deshaun Watson, give him the most money while he is, being legally investigated.
Right.
That did not work out. This is a guy who won 2 Coach of the Year awards and brought the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs twice. Won a playoff game with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
That is, as I heard, I'm going to
Pittsburgh too.
Shout out
not
to,
an easy
I'm not going to steal
play.
this take as my own. I heard Big Cat say this. I'm part of my take. Shout out Big Cat. That should count as a Super Bowl. Won a playoff game in Cleveland?
Yeah.
That's almost as impressive as winning a Super Bowl with a stable organization. So that's a huge plus. Not to mention Stefanski's an offensive mind, a respected offensive mind. I think that would help with Dart. Yeah. I think that they could use an offensive guy as their head coach, although Dable was, but a different voice.
Right.
And then just to look through the other ones, we're not going to get into every single one. Those are just the two most obvious, but we'll list the others. Mike McCarthy's name has been thrown around. Obviously, another guy that if they can't get those two, a veteran, stable presence.
Yeah.
They're interviewing Antonio Pierce, former Giants linebacker who coached with the Raiders only 1 year. He was a great interim coach. Didn't have a great year, but also didn't get that much of a fair shake because they had new ownership there. At least with Brady. Obviously, Mark Davis is still there. So he's getting interviewed. Raheem Morris, that would be bad. They're having dinner with him. So there are going to be a bunch of candidates for the Giants. I think it's Harbaugh, Stefanski, or you're not. Yeah. And also the younger guys, Chris Shula from the Rams, defensive coordinator, grandson of Don Shula. Shout out Don. Those are all candidates, and they'll make their way through. But it's all going to start with Harbaugh. Yeah, Harbaugh is going to be the first domino.
Harbaugh is the first guy, and similar. We'll get to MLB free agency, but we talk about like first domino's got to fall before everyone else can go. Yeah, Harbaugh's going to make his decision, and then everyone else will go.
So quickly,
but sorry, I just want to make one more point on Stefanski in particular. Not only is he an offensive mind, but his defense in Cleveland, partly because Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. His defense in Cleveland has been really good. Jim Schwartz a big part of that, but he brings credibility, not only being an offensive guy, but he's built a winning defense too.
Yeah, so we got to move on from the Giants. Just quickly touch on. There are two local candidates that have not been directly connected to the Giants yet. Jeff Hafley went to Siena, graduated from Siena, so he's a local guy. He's the defensive coordinator of the Packers. They're still playing, so he cannot. Right. He's not in the mix for these interviews yet.
They play this week.
There are different rules. I think it's after like a certain amount of like a week, you can do virtual interviews. Like if they win, that they'll get to that. And then the other is Anthony Weaver, who's a Saratoga grad, the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins, who will be interesting to see if the Dolphins gave him an interview. I would assume that he would at least get a shot at that. Yeah. He's already got requested from the Falcons and the Ravens. He used to be on the defensive staff with John Harbaugh, so he's getting interviewed there. I think both of those guys are going to get a fair amount of looks. I think Hafley looks pretty good, to get an opportunity. I would think he was mentioned last year. So was Weaver. I think at least one of them gets an opportunity. So those are the two things to kind of keep an eye on as far as the local ties. I think we're going to take a quick break here, and then we will get to the last NFL team, Brian's New York Jets. All right, Brian, it's time to put a bow on the season that was for your New York Jets. A 3-14 season. They started 0-7. Yeah. They traded a lot of their pieces, which did help, didn't help them, and they kind of went into full tank mode. They had the worst December in the history of the NFL. They were outscored by 107 points. My other fun fact for the Jets that I'm sure if you're a Jets fan, you've heard at this point or just are aware of, the first team since the interception stat was recorded or began to be recorded in the 1930s to not record an NFL interception. I will note that Aaron Glenn was a defensive back. Those are the guys who usually do the intercepting. It's also funny because I saw on Madden 2004 when you do the drills, the guy that you do the SWAT and interception drill is Aaron Glenn.
Interesting.
So those are all some fun facts, and they have decided to not let go of Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
And I think that you can look at that as obviously you don't usually want to move on from a coach after 1 year. You want to give him a chance. You don't want to be an organization that's constantly firing coaches because no coach is going to want to go there. The leash is too short. If you have eyeballs, in my opinion, you can see that Aaron Glenn is not going to be a good NFL coach, and they should correct the mistake now, but they're not going to do that. Your thoughts?
No, they're not going to do that because why do something that in general is smart if you're the New York Jets? The Jets, like you said, worst statistical December in history.
Shout out.
The NFL has been around for more than 100 years.
Shout out.
So in more than 100 years, Aaron Glenn went into the New York Jets, said, we're going to win now. Yep. We're going to turn this thing around right now.
Yep.
And had the worst statistical December. And then capped it by losing by 4 touchdowns to the Bills backups.
Yeah, they got Mitch Trubisky. Really,
Mitch
really
Trubisky
showed him what's
looked
what.
like he earned his high draft pick from all those years ago. This is it's just terrible. And I think you can't even make the argument that the reason this team played this bad is because they don't have talent. Because after they traded away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, after the trade deadline, they won 2 of their next 4. And the other 2 were close losses to good teams on the road. They came out and fought, and then the calendar turned to December, and they just stopped playing.
Yeah.
And when the team stops playing, when you play like that, and there's just no offense, there's no fight, there's no will to win, no will to be there, the coach has lost the team.
Shout out, Aaron Glenn.
He shouldn't be there. It's embarrassing. The Jets, who regularly embarrass themselves, took it to a whole new level.
It does make me laugh. I would like to dispel 2 things because I think there's definitely a camp that wants Aaron Glenn gone, and I think there's definitely a camp that doesn't want to be overreactionary, even though they are being overreactionary in their lack of reaction. The 2 notions I would like to dispel. 1, people are like, you can't blame Aaron Glenn. They traded everyone. I would like to remind those people that they started 0-7.
Yeah.
When they had the full bevy of talent.
They won more games after the trades than they did before the trades.
0-7 before the trade deadline. So, yes, is that partly why the December was as bad as it was? Yes, but also you could be more competitive than they were.
Yeah.
And, they were playing Brady Cook. The guy is not a quarterback. He's not a second-string quarterback. He's not a third-string quarterback.
Right.
He's very bad. That is true, but at the same time, their defense was their worst part of their operation.
Yeah.
He's a defensive head coach. There was some talent on that side of the ball. At least there should be.
Yeah.
They didn't get the most out of Jermaine Johnson or any of the pass rushers.
Yeah.
So
2 first-round
they fired
pass
their
rushers
defensive
on that
coordinator in their
D-line.
first year. So don't tell me that it's all about they just tanked. They were bad before that. Also, there are some people who are like, well, it's year 1. What do you expect? And what do you want to win 6 games and not get the second pick? Because they will have the second pick, which is a big part of their future going forward. Aaron Glenn was the one who said that he was here to win now.
Yeah.
There's a way to handle. He came in with this arrogance and bravado of I'm here to win now and I'm gonna curse and I'm gonna set the tone and blah blah blah. I'm this tough guy, and he was tough with the media and blah 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 blah. And then by the end of the year, he was like a completely different guy.
Yeah.
And it's like now all of a sudden the expectations are different, and I just don't. You can't set those expectations and then be like, well, what did you expect? It's like, well, you set the expectations that we were going to be competitive, and you picked Justin Fields as your quarterback. And then that's the other thing. People are like, well, Justin Fields was his quarterback. Who picked that?
Right. Yeah, 2 out of the 3.
He did.
2 out of the 3 big decisions, right? When you look at personnel for a head coach, 2 out of the 3 big decisions for a coach. Who your quarterback's going to be. Granted, some of that is with the GM, but this time around, Aaron Glenn was a big voice in that. And then your offensive and defensive coordinators. Justin Fields was terrible. He fired his defensive coordinator. I don't really have a read on the offensive coordinator because the offense was operating under Brady Cook and was just terrible. So,
it's hard to have a read. But
all the decisions that he made just nothing went well.
Yeah.
Other than the special teams.
Yeah,
That's it.
We'll see what happens on the offensive side of the ball. I do kind of feel like you need a proven commodity, and it's nothing even against their OC. If you're going to keep Glenn, and you're going to pick a quarterback with a second pick, if Dante Moore does come out, if it's him or whoever, I would tell Dante Moore, don't come out and don't go to the Jets. That's just a little bit of advice from me. I think that you might need a more proven commodity because there's too much. You're leaving too much up to chance to just run it back and get a new defensive coordinator. But will be figured out down the line.
Yeah. That's the offensive coordinator argument is one for a later point.
Yeah, I think
I think
their GM proved that a lot with the deals that he made. The Sauce Gardner move was great. Muji made a great move there. I think he made a great move with Quinn Williams. They have picks. They have the 2 picks in the first round this year. They have the Colts picks next year, which now look good.
And the Cowboys
they were terrible
too.
After. So, but the Colts, I think they're now way more like the Cowboys. I think will be solid.
Yeah.
The Colts without Daniel Jones, we'll see where they go from there. Like that pick could be a high one,
a very good one. Yeah.
So, it is just to me critical to just correct your mistake when you know you made one, and everything Aaron Glenn's put your full trust in me. You can. It's one thing to ask the fan base. I need you to trust me, and if you don't trust me right now, I will earn your trust.
Yeah.
I don't know who was telling him who their PR people are. We got to talk to them too. But to go out there and be like, I need you put your full trust in me. Why? Why? Also, he was asked why his confidence isn't shaken. Because I've been there and I've done that. And then he talked about his tenure with the Saints, Browns, and the Lions. You were not a head coach.
Yeah. As
a head coach, you have neither been there nor done that.
No. The only thing he's done as a head coach is have the worst December in history. No,
So,
it's frustrating.
That I think pretty much wraps it up because I think we could keep going on the Jets. We've already gone long on football here. We could keep going on. But that's the general tenor of where the New York Jets are at. And it could be a period where they rebuild things. They have a lot of picks.
Yeah.
But you got to trust the right people, and I don't know if they have the right person.
Listen, I'll close with this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a diehard Jets fan. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes out in the next couple of years and turns it around. But he has done nothing to show me that he has that capability, and I really I have a bad feeling that, listen, if Dante Moore comes out, they'll pick him at number 2. If not, we'll see what happens. But I have a feeling that next year will be Aaron Glenn's last, one way or another.
You're not wrong. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Well, we went heavy on football today because there's so much to talk about. So these next couple topics we'll probably run through relatively quickly, and that's good because the hot stove with the
extremely cold.
It is so cold. It's the coldest stove I've ever come across.
Yeah.
There's just nothing happening. I mean, for the Mets, for the Red Sox, for the Yankees, for any team.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for that big domino to fall. I think it will be Kyle Tucker or Bellinger on the position player side. I think maybe Bregman. I think it'll be, maybe Framber Valdez. Maybe Peralta gets traded from the Brewers on the pitching side to kind of open things up. But right now where we sit, we had the first kind of couple moves and we're just waiting. And if I see, this is not a shot at any reporter or any baseball personality, but if I have to read that the Mets, Dodgers, and Blue Jays are interested in Kyle Tucker, and the Mets want to go short-term, but he wants a long-term deal, one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm going to lose my mind because it's the same regurgitated stuff on social media over and over again. These are their jobs. They need to make content. I'm sure they're waiting for a sign.
Right, yeah.
But the same things get reported. And by the way, nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent. When will something be imminent? When will it be imminent? Let's get this moving.
This has been an incredibly frustrating and just kind of boring offseason for baseball fans. Not much is happening. Everyone, at the start it was, Ketel Marte might get traded. All these teams interested in everyone. Once the Pete Alonso signing, once Pete and Diaz kind of went their ways, it was just like everything kind of just hit the brakes.
And then it was the holiday season,
right?
And that obviously there's not gonna be a lot of movement because people they're off. They don't want to do deals during that time.
Right.
And why would they?
Sure.
But we're back now. We're recording this on January 8th at 5:30, and who knows? Maybe Kyle Tucker. Maybe you're watching this on Friday, and Kyle Tucker is a New York Met. Boy, do I hope that's the case. Or Bellinger. Or maybe Bregman's a Red Sox. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. But as we sit now, I mean, we just talk about baseball out there every day, and we're just waiting for something to happen and get a little bit more resolution.
It's the same conversations. Everything that's being reported, we're having the same conversations in our sports department. Because it's on repeat.
With Casey Cants, shout out Casey Cants, big baseball guy, Gardos. Waiting for something to happen.
Everyone. It's every team. It's the high dollar teams. It's the low dollar teams. Everyone's waiting for something to happen.
Let's get a move on here, and hopefully. I mean, remember the Mets were going to make a trade with the Padres? That was 2 months. That was like a month ago.
Yeah,
Plus.
beginning of December,
Nothing happened.
Yeah, beginning of December, the Red Sox seemed like they were like
Marte, they're going to sign Bregman, and it's just like there have been so many rumors.
Yeah.
And like some of them will come up every once in a while, like that's still a possibility. Well, it's not happening anytime soon. And that's your hot stove update. There is no update.
There is no update. The update is that we're complaining.
Hopefully we come back on 10 for 10 next week and there is an update and we can actually talk some moves. But for now, we're moving on. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10. Like I said, we're going to have to rip through these next couple, but a big day, what was yesterday when we were recording this, so Wednesday, for the UAlbany football team, announcing Tom Perkovich, officially introducing Tom Perkovich as their next head football coach. And this was announced before the holidays, but or during the holiday season. I think it was December 23rd.
Yeah,
I remember I needed content right before Christmas.
Yeah,
so it was a blessing.
Yeah, you were working that day. I was working
it was like a
the
Christmas
next.
gift. I'm like, there's nothing going on. Thank you. Shout out UAlbany for hiring Tom Perkovich. That is great. So I can run something. So this move has been. We just didn't. They weren't able to introduce him because people were away and all of that stuff. The introductory press conference was pretty, standard. There's not a lot. You can win the press conference. I think that he presented himself very well. I think he was very, well spoken about what his vision is. I think more so I'm not going to talk too much about that because a lot of those you never really know. You can have a great introductory press conference and it's about the results on the field. But talking about the results on the field, Tom Perkovich, he comes from Susquehanna University, where he had a heck of a tenure. In 10 seasons, he was 84 and 25. The last 4 years, they won 4 conference championships. They did not lose a conference game.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's pretty darn good.
He brings with him his offensive coordinator. His defensive coordinator coached at UAlbany before. He's now, he's also coached with Perkovich before, Susquehanna, so they have familiarity with each other as well. These are everything kind of checks out. It is a jump from D3 to FCS. There's going to be NIL components. There's going to be recruiting components. They're getting a late break on, the transfer portal just opened up. They're doing work on that right now, while also trying to, evaluate what's there, the roster that's there, and who they want to keep, and what. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the modern era of college football, but I think that would be the case for any candidate.
Yeah,
and on paper it looks great, and obviously we hope it does. We like to cover winning teams around here. So it looks good on paper, but obviously it's going to come down to the results on the field. I would say preach patience, especially in this era of the transfer portal. Guys moving who might my coach left. Guys are going to leave.
Right.
Guys are going to come. So just give them some time and let's see what they can turn this thing into.
Yeah, I think for Coach Perk, he's going to run into the same difficulties any coach who's coming into a new program is, right? He's getting a late jump on evaluating the roster. He's got to, see which recruits are actually still coming and which are going to go find somewhere else. And now he's got to get into a transfer portal. I think just his history speaks for itself. Can he transfer that from a Division III school in Susquehanna to the FCS level? We certainly hope he does, because that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
So another head coaching move, Tim Cox named the head coach of the Seattle men's lacrosse team. Obviously, this follows, the tragic passing of Liam Gleason last month. I spoke with Tim Cox earlier in the week. He felt very good that, the administration expressed confidence, like, hey, no matter how, if Liam was still with us and went to another job, no matter how you came into this position, we would have given you this opportunity. We have the confidence in you. It's not just, needing to make a move and that's where they go. And I think for the players and for the program, people who are still kind of reeling after the Gleason, after Gleason's passing, I think it helps to have a guy who's been there for 7 years. He learned under Liam. He knows about, how the program works. He also knows the right way to honor Liam with what they do. But I also talked to him, and it's just the reality that they want to be able to have a room where you can come and Gleason's hat will be on the trophy, and you could talk about how you're feeling and the emotions behind all of that, but also not making every single thing or every single moment about that, because that obviously becomes very heavy, and they want the locker room to be a fun place. They can play video games and hang out. So it's a delicate balance of honoring him and his legacy and giving kids an outlet to kind of express their emotions, while also moving forward with the lacrosse team and making it an enjoyable experience and a productive experience. I think that Tim Cox is the no-brainer guy for the job. A guy who played at UAlbany when Gleason was an assistant coach, guy who's from Schenectady. He knows the area. I think that he's it earned this opportunity.
Yeah.
It comes in a way that no one would ever want it to.
Of course.
But that was the right move to kind of bridge into this new era.
Absolutely. I think earned is the right word. Tim Cox certainly earned this opportunity to be the head coach of Siena Lacrosse. Like you said, no one ever wanted it to happen this way, but he's stepping into this role. And I also think it is important for the players and for Siena as a whole to have someone in that role who has been with the program, has been with the players, who knew Liam, and can kind of help find that balance of
and also led
him,
them
honoring him, and also can be there for them.
And has also led them during this time.
Yes,
he's been with them during this time and knows how emotional it's been, and knows what these guys are going through.
Knows what he's meant to the community and the players.
So I think that it was a no-brainer, and just like we were talking about with Perkovich, we wish them, the program, and Tim, nothing but the best going forward. And they'll be coming to campus, the players, on January 14th, and we'll be covering lacrosse before you know it. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll end up with basketball real quick when we come back. All right, we've gone heavy, so we're wrapping it up quickly with men's and women's basketball. On the college side, we'll start with the men, the UAlbany men. First conference game, they fall to UMass Lowell, 83-71 on the road. This is after dropping the last two non-conference games, so they're 4-12. But I mean, really, conference play is what matters.
Right. Yeah.
That's what matters. So they have. Coming up on Saturday, they play Bryant. They have the bye this week, so only one game. Bryant at home Saturday at 2:00.
Yeah, big game. I think they, found themselves in a similar situation like they have all year. They have one really bad stretch, and they can't find a way to battle back. They've got to play a full 40 against this Bryant team, and going forward if they're going to turn things around.
Siena men just beat Ryder on the road this past Sunday. They play Merrimack. If you're watching it on Friday, the game is today. It's the regional food bank game, so bring the non-perishables there. They are now 3-1 because they lost to Iona in a really tough game.
Yeah.
They're 3-1 in conference. Merrimack 5-0. So this is, and then they play the Mount on Saturday. Mount St. Mary's on the road. But this Merrimack game is a big one, to kind of set the tone.
Yeah, it's a huge game. This is a team that has their sights set on winning the conference and being a top seed in the tournament. If they're going to be what they want to be, these are the games you got to win, especially at home against Merrimack 5-0.
Real quick, women's basketball, Binghamton, or the Bryant for the UAlbany women, also on Saturday, 2:00. They're 1-1 in conference, and the Siena women just fell to Ryder in a tough one. Ryder was, I think 2-12 coming into the game, just a tough loss for them. But the Siena women have really turned it around. They're 4-1 in conference play. But that is going to do it for us on 10 for 10. Come on back next week. We'll have 10 more topics with the News 10 Sports team. 10 for 10.